Today we're going to do an earpiece replacement on a Palm Pre, and this one's relatively simple, but you're probably unlikely to run across this particular phone as they've been discontinued, as well as the company not being around anymore. These are most of the tools that you're going to need. You might want to add a pair of tweezers also to make things easier. And we will start by removing the cover from the back of the phone. There's a tab at the bottom that will release that panel. And once you pull that off, go ahead and remove the battery. Also a nice little pull tab here to pop that out. And from here you're going to have six T5 Torx screws, six T5 Torx screws on the back. So go ahead and remove those, set them aside. And they're all the same size, so you don't have to worry about mixing them up too much. Once you've got your screws removed, you will have to remove the volume buttons as well. And this one's kind of situated in here in a very interesting manner. When you pry it, I began by pulling the frame away from the back a little bit, and if you pry from the bottom here, you see it flies right out of the phone, so make sure you keep track of where that went. You've got two different tabs. One is kind of sticking straight out perpendicular, and the other one goes out to the towards the top. So later on when we put those back together, you see the one that's at the 90-degree angle actually will go into the bottom right below the volume down control. You can see how that fits into that little hole there. And we'll do that last, or when we put it back together. So what you need to do is get underneath this entire button set and pry it away. Be careful not to bust those little buttons off of the cable. If you do, you're going to have some other repairs to perform. What we can do here is go ahead and pry around the edges once you've got the volume buttons off of the frame. Make sure you don't tear that flex cable. Go ahead and continue prying around the edges. And we get down to the bottom. On this particular one, the logic board, the main logic board, this phone actually has two, main logic board stuck to the phone instead of coming off with the frame, so you'll see it's still attached by the antenna wires on the inside. I'm not sure why that happened, but there is some adhesive that holds that board in place. I probably could have went under, and you'll see I'm going to go ahead and remove that in a second. But you've also got two flex cables, and you're only going to see one that I'm prying here underneath the board. If you go in at an angle or from the side, you can actually see there's a large flex cable on what would be the left-hand side of the phone here if you're looking at it from the front. So you have to go underneath the board and release that flex cable. I know it's a little difficult to see in this shot. There's a flex cable on the other side that's smaller, and it actually just fell off when I pulled the PCB out. So when we turn it over, you'll be able to see this in a minute. So go ahead and pry. There's, like I said, some adhesive underneath here that's just kind of holding the board in place. There aren't any more screws or anything to remove, but you're going to have to get under here and just kind of separate that. And like I said, as this comes apart, you'll see closest to my left-hand thumb there's going to be another small flex cable, and that's the one that attaches to the keypad. Like I said, I didn't actually unplug it. It just kind of came apart on its own. Make sure you take note of that when you're removing it. You see you've got a large flex on the top there, smaller one on the bottom. I'm looking at the phone from this direction. And make sure you don't let your antenna wires get crimped. Those go back. There's actually a kind of a spot for them there in the back housing. So what we're going to do now is a couple more screws. And the top two, you can see these go directly into the slide mechanism and hold it to the front half of the phone. The top two you'll be able to see easily enough. The bottom two, you'll have to actually slide the phone into a different position to access. So this one's kind of underneath where those volume keys were. And then you have another one on the other side. You'll see here in a minute, I'm going to slide the phone the back half upwards just a hair, and you'll see that exposes hidden screw. There's one there, and then there's going to be one underneath that main flex cable at the top area. So you just pull that back a little bit. Don't pull it too far. Slide the phone up, and you'll see there's another screw here, and this will attach the sliding mechanism. So once we release that, we've basically just got the front keypad assembly here, which again has some adhesive under the keypad, but there's nothing else holding this in. You just want to go and kind of pull that apart. It's a little bit sticky, not too bad, but this will slide out. Now take care here because there is a flex cable that goes around the back. So you see how that works? It actually slides into a little area there, and you don't want to get that snagged when you pull it out, so be careful with that one. Okay, so at this point we're most of the way through the phone. We've actually got a dual flex cable connector down in here. I know it's a little bit difficult to see. You will, when you take it apart, you'll see there's two flex cables there running from the front of the phone to the slide mechanism, wherever that plugs into, and you've got to get under those one at a time. Not too difficult to get off, but when you go to put it together, it's real fun to work with that piece. So I'll just pop those out, and you'll see here in a second what I'm talking about. So you've got two cables back to back here that actually both plug in. So it's a real awkward, you can have fun putting them back together. And they go right on, actually to the front logic board. One there and one there. That's where those are going to plug back in when we get finished. So at this point, just take this little tab off the top. That'll allow you to access the earpiece and some of the other components. But mainly what we're going to do is replace this speaker, because we're not getting any sound in call through the earpiece, although the speakerphone is working okay. So that tab will pop out. There's a little bit of adhesive behind it and a few tabs. Not too tough, nothing tricky about that. And what we're going to do is just, you can see I've got the replacement earpiece right here, and that's where it goes. What we're going to do is heat this up just a little bit so we can peel that tape back enough to access the little gate that we need to pop open to slide the flex cable out. So this is where you need the tweezers, or find them helpful anyways. I'm sure you can do it without, but this will make your life a little bit easier. Peel that tape far back enough so you can just pop that gate open, and hopefully that'll stay out of the way. And what we're going to do is apply a little more heat to the top here in a second, because if you go to pull the cable where the earpiece is at the top, it wants to peel away from the speaker. You can see it's going to kind of separate from the speaker here, because the speaker's got some adhesive holding it to the frame, but this cable isn't really secured onto the speaker. So I'll put that back down on, apply a little bit of heat, and then there's a little notch at the top. You'll see I try to pry it from the side here at first, and that doesn't work too well. So if you go right to the top of it, you'll see there's a little, it's kind of hard to see in this shot, right up above the actual speaker. You've got a notch here where you can go in just gently. We're not too worried about this one because it's defective, but we'll kind of pry on that until it starts moving, and once you can get underneath it, or possibly go on from the side and grip it a little bit, that'll pull right up, and then we'll just slide it out. It's like my tape got stuck there. Pull that over to the side, and there you go. From this point, you can install your new speaker and reverse the process. And if I have the time, or if anybody wants to see it, I'll go ahead and do a reassembly video, although I doubt there's going to be much demand for that.